right, and a good Sunday to you. Welcome to another episode of JD's Deep Cut Sunday Tracks, where we're going to talk about and research and delve into old artists that at once were huge and then they fell through the cracks, and some of them are still big names, like the one I'm going to talk about. But actually, this artist kind of had a roller coaster of a career. He was one of the biggest artists in musical history. Sundays we focus on folk rock, psychedelic and stuff, and he definitely fell into the folk rock. I'm a huge fan of this artist. You probably can see who I'm talking about. Okay, Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens was out of England, London. Started out as a folk singer, always kept his folk roots, had some pop sounds in there in the 70s, 80s, but went into a trance as well. Not a trance, but did his own thing as far as his beliefs. I respect that. But I'm going to talk about an album that wasn't one of his biggest albums. It was a comeback album, and the song definitely I'm going to talk about is not a known song. That's what we're here for. We're talking about the songs that weren't big. But Cat Stevens is who I'm talking about, of course. Cheers to all. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Coming to you from an undisclosed location. I always say that, but I'm sure you know where I'm at home. It's just another alcove. But Cat Stevens, I'm talking about his album Is It So? And the song was Doughnut. Okay, was Doughnut. This was on his 10th album with A&M. This song, he was an innovator, of course, we know. But this album, for that matter, is one of his experimental, went out on a limb album, electronic synth album. Okay, Cat Stevens was very brave. He went out and did different things. Okay. But this album specifically, he went out on a limb and started doing, a lot of different sounds, keyboard sounds, synth sounds, electronic, if you will. But definitely the song I picked was an electronic song. EDC would be proud. EDC is a big electronic music festival in Vegas. They would love this if they've heard it. Little do they know, it was done, 30 years before. But, the big song on this album, well, if you can say a big song, was The Old Schoolyard. It's a great song. The album after this was like his forced record. He had to do a record for A&M. If not, they would fine him. But this was his comeback album. Is It So was his comeback album. It's a cool story I'm going to tell you. I used to work for the county years ago, and I met a person there, Spaniard, really cool guy. He was a Muslim. He loved good music, a lot of underground, South American roots, guitars. And he told me, have you heard the Cat Stevens Is It So album? I go, no, I haven't. I've heard Tea for the Tiller, Man, Wild World and all that. And I heard it. He's like, check that album out. It's when he was a Muslim, and he was a real Muslim. He didn't look it. But he introduced me to this album, and I heard him. And I kind of left that job. I didn't like the politics. And I got that from him. He was an avid Crowley follower, Aleister Crowley, Satanist, I guess. But he knew music. He played music. He played flamenco music. Really cool guy. I wish I would see him again. I can't remember his name right now, but he introduced me to this specific album because I kind of, after his 5th album, he started going into different styles of music. Cat Stevens went through a lot. He went through a lot of phases, but I got introduced to Is It So, and it's a really good album. The album after this, I can't remember the name, but it's just like a album that he had to do because the label was pressuring him. But guess who produced this? One of the producers, one of the engineers was Flemming Rasmussen. Flemming Rasmussen is a Danish producer, Metallica. He did Ride the Lightning, he did Master Puppets, he I think he did And This For All, but he was a bit older then, but he did this album. He was one of the sound engineers on this album. So can you believe that? I mean, you know, Flemming, metal, Metallica production, and did Cat Stevens' It's So album. That's great. That's really good to know. But this album focuses more on electronic stuff. So check this album out. Check the song. It was Doughnut. It's probably my favorite Cat Stevens song, believe it or not. Yusuf is his name now. Okay. At least Yusuf Islam. At least he's doing his old stuff now. Back from his stuff that he did. I have both of his Yusuf Islam albums, 2 CDs. But this album is more of an electronic focusing. Producer here is Dave Kirshen, of Tracy Chapman fame, Joe Jackson fame, great producer. But we all know who the real producer is, Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens played keyboards, guitar, the sitar. I mean, he did all this stuff. He invited Chick Corea on this album. Jean Roussel, always with Cat, doing the piano stuff. Okay. Alan Davies doing guitars. That was like his core members of the band. But yeah, check this album out. The Old Schoolyard was the famous poppy song, electronic, whatever. But was Doughnut. That's the song. I think that's my favorite Cat Stevens song. And when you hear, you're gonna be like, what the WTH? What the hell, right? But just the way he innovated, he experimented, tried different things, which all bands do. U2 did it, the Beatles did it. Okay. Keep in mind the Beatles did it, Black Sabbath did it. I mean, Metallica, they all did it. So you can't crucify them for that. They gotta evolve. And Cat Stevens did it on the Is It So album. Okay, Back from the Woods, I think. Back to the Trees, I think the album after this, it's not. It's like a forced album. It's okay. But Flemming Rasmussen produced it, but we all know Cat Stevens really did the production. But the comeback album, recorded at Muscle Shoals. I'm sure you all know what Muscle Shoals recording studio is. Okay. Did some of it in Memphis. If you get a chance when you're in Memphis, go to the old RCA recording studio. It's amazing history there. Okay, so Cat Stevens was Doughnut. Check this album out. Check that song out. It's a great album. Expand your horizons here if you can. A&M Records. One of Herb's prodigies, but didn't audition for Herb Alpert, Jerry Moss. Okay? But check it out. Great sounding album. A lot of Moog in there, a lot of keyboards, a lot of synth, electronic, like I said. Okay. All right, so cheers. Thank you, VC, for checking out my videos. I hope you check out more. I'm coming up on 100, so I'm going to do some special project here, something different. Okay. Sunday is for folk rock, psychedelic, 60s. Cat Stevens was definitely would fall under that. Okay. All right, so not a big Cat Stevens song, of course. Never do that. You got to do something different, something obsolete. But this album, it's been a while. All right, so have a good Sunday and watch a lot of football there, and I'll see you on the next one. I'll see you Wednesday for some Christian Death.